Well, this is going to be difficult going back and reviewing this entire show following that main event. But I'm going to do my best here. So, this is Derek J407 back on YouTube for the first time in what feels like a long time. I looked at it before recording, and the last time I actually posted a video review on my page was Hell in a Cell with a finish to that show, which was, how you say, not good. And a lot has happened since then. But this is my first review in about a month, and I'm here to talk about not WWE and their shitty television. I'm talking about AEW and their really good television, like their really good show tonight, that being Full Gear, live from the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. A show that was a mixed bag. There was a lot of good. There was some not so good. A little bit of bad. Some great. Some awesome. And some batshit insanity. Like that main event. Well, technically not the main event since the lights went out, even though they didn't. But that Lights Out Unsanctioned match with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley was one of the most insane things I've ever watched. It was brutal from start to finish. There was no real point in the match that didn't slow down. It just escalated further and further till it just got to peak levels of crazy. And I suggest everyone reach out to Renee Young to make sure she's okay. She was tweeting during the match, and if you saw her tweets, she was not feeling the best about this one. So if you can, look her up on Twitter and make sure she's doing okay. I'm kind of worried. But overall, I had to give this show a thumbs up. I really do. There was more good than bad, in my opinion, on this show. There was a really creative finish to the championship match, and plus the post-match big turn that everyone saw coming, but was still very well executed. A lot of good stuff. But let me not ramble on too long, because I don't want to overstay my welcome like AEW did. I give this show a thumbs up, but this show was very long. The buy-in started at 7, but they just replayed the countdown special that had already aired, like on their YouTube channel or something like that. So the buy-in didn't officially start until 7:30, and the show went off probably around very close to midnight. So this was about a 4.5-hour show. It did not need to be that long. It really did not need to be that long. Well, maybe not. Actually, if you count the first the half-hour pre-show, and they didn't go all the way till midnight, so maybe it was a 4-hour show. Even still, that's an hour longer than it needed to be, or at least a half hour longer than it needed to be. But that's just my opinion. What do I know, right? But despite being too long and other problems that I will get to when I get to certain matches, overall, it was a thumbs up show. So let's start from the very beginning. Let's go to the buy-in, the pre-show. The commentators were Excalibur, of course, joined by Golden Boy and Taz. As most of you know, Taz was a guest commentator on a recent episode of AEW Dark, the YouTube show that airs a bunch of dark matches taped before and after the regular show on TNT. And he appeared on the episode that was taped in Philadelphia a couple weeks back. I don't know if he's appeared on any of the recent ones. That was the last one I watched, honestly. So I don't know if he's appeared on any of them since then, but he was here tonight to call the sole match on the buy-in, which was B. Priestley versus Britt Baker. This is a feud that dates back to July at the Fight for the Fallen show, when B gave Britt Baker a concussion with a inherent boot to the back of her head. And this blood feud has started since then. B gave Britt a black eye in a tag team match on TV. So some bad blood between these two women. So they went out here and they had a pretty good match. A lot of criticism for AEW has been directed at their women's division or lack thereof in terms of women's division. Not a lot of great matches, not a lot of great character development. They only get exposure with one match every week, so not a lot of positive thoughts on the women's division. But recently, they've gone in the right direction, as evidence here. This was a pretty good match. It ended with, before Britt won, she hit a Canadian Destroyer. We got a 2 count. Hate seeing it. I really don't like seeing that, but nevertheless, she did end up locking in her lockjaw submission and got the win. B pretty much tapped out immediately, and one would think that this feud is wrapped up and over. And one would think that, considering what happened after the match. So Britt's gone. B is still laid out in the ring. The lights go out, and we see on the little Tron. By the way, the stage setup was really nice too. It was nothing overly fancy, but it was something unique and different, which is all you can ask for pay-per-view setups. It had like gears and switches and all that kind of stuff, so I thought that was cool. Anyway, out came Brandy Rhodes and Awesome Kong. We've seen a couple vignettes of the two of them on AEW television recently, on a Dynamite, and have no idea what this new gimmick is for these two, but they came out. Kong beat down B. Priestley, gave her a spinning back fist, gave her a double underhook slam, and Brandy pulled out a switchblade. So she's turning into Jay White here, but she literally pulled out a knife, and I don't know if it was her or Kong, but one of them took the knife and cut out a chunk of B's hair. Kong took it, so it was Brandy who cut it. Kong picked it up and attached it to her. I think she like put it against her face and was rubbing her face with it or something like that, and then she placed it on like her belt, almost like a trophy. I have no idea what this is. It's very weird, but I'm at least somewhat interested, and that's really all I have to say about that. So we get to the main show, and we have just JR and Excalibur on the show. They mentioned that Tony Schiavone would not be calling the show, so it was just a 2-man booth all night. And the first match was the Young Bucks versus Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz. A tag team match that I have been interested in seeing for a very long time. Two of the very best tag teams in the entire world. I'd say number 2 and number 3, because number 1 is the Lucha Bros, in my opinion. But, yeah, 2 of the best tag teams in the world today, right now. And I knew this was going to be a kick-ass match, and it was pretty much that. Right from the jump, it was very chaotic, very wild. These referees have no control over tag team matches, apparently. Nick Jackson, he got injured semi early on. He was on a little flurry, just going through everything and everyone. And on the outside, he was on the apron, and it was Ortiz. He was on the floor. Nick was going for a running kick to him, but Ortiz moved out of the way, so Nick collided with the steel ring post. It looked pretty brutal, so that was him selling a knee injury for pretty much the rest of the match. He just went back to that. Matt came over. He tried to get involved, but he ended up getting thrown into the crowd right in front of the Rock and Roll Express. They were out there at ringside in the front row. Of course, they got attacked by Santana and Ortiz on TV a few weeks ago, so it made sense that they were out there. So we see Santana and Ortiz, they pretty much beat down Nick, target his knee, of course, and he's getting beat down pretty badly. But he does make a comeback, and he ends up hitting Ortiz with a super kick. And Ortiz sold this super kick. I don't even know how to describe it. He came off the ropes. Nick hit him with a super kick, and he just stopped. He convulsed and kind of like flopped in midair, and then just fell straight down face first. It was hilarious. I know he's between himself and Santana, he's like the crazy one. If you compare it to the Briscoes, he's like Mark Briscoe. He's the crazy, insane, lunatic one, while Santana, just like Jay, is the real, intense one, a lot more serious than the other. So that was kind of the goofier side, and that makes me think when these guys eventually turn baby faces, he'll probably play a lot more into that goofy side. But hopefully for now, it can be contained a little bit. Matt, he got in the ring, he got the hot tag. He eventually hit a double Northern Lights suplex on both Santana and Ortiz, which was really impressive. So he and Nick go for the Meltzer driver. Why Matt felt the need to be in the ring in the pile driver position while he had Nick bounce off the ropes, I have no idea. Nick kicked the steel post of like 15 minutes earlier and was still selling that knee injury. So why he thought this was a good idea, I don't know. And sure enough, Nick goes up, tries to springboard off the top rope, and he collapses, falls right to the ground, or right into the ring, I should say. Matt checks on him, he tries to help him up, he props him up and puts him on the top turnbuckle. So they're just about to go for another big move. And so Matt serves him right, ends up getting taken down by both Santana and Ortiz. And Santana kind of encourages Nick, who gets off the top and gets on the apron, to tag in. He encourages him to be a man and fight them. Nick tags himself in. He gets in the ring. He shoves Santana. He spits his gum out at him, but it didn't really hit him. He spat it out, but it fell in the middle of the ring. So Santana picks up the piece of gum and puts it into his mouth. The fans chanted, I believe, "You sick fuck," which they should have, because that's gross. Not only was the gum in another person's mouth already, but it got spat out, so it got even more, meshing with the saliva, and it got spat out into the ring. He picked it up from the ring. That's just disgusting. So he eventually spat it back out at Nick, but it's still gross. But in the end, Santana and Ortiz, they hit the street sweeper on Nick Jackson and got the 1-2-3. So their first big pay-per-view match in AEW, they get a huge victory over an established team like the Young Bucks. So firmly places these guys near the top, if not at the very top of the list of teams to challenge for the AEW tag team titles. After the match, Sammy Guevara, another member of the Inner Circle, along with Santana and Ortiz, he came out there with his phone, vlogging, I guess. They further beat down the Young Bucks when the Rock and Roll Express, remember them? They were in the front row, they got in the ring, and they tried to help fight them off, and they did. Ricky Morton ended up hitting a Canadian Destroyer on Santana and did a dive through the ropes onto Sammy Guevara and Ortiz. So I thought that was cool. I don't know if this is going to set up a future match on Dynamite with the Rock and Roll Express and Proud and Powerful, or you throw in like Jake Hager or Jericho on the Inner Circle side and face the Young Bucks and Rock and Roll Express in an 8-man tag team match. It might be that one over the former, but either one could be fun. It could be fun to see the Rock and Roll Express. Hey, they're a legendary team, got a lot of respect, and beating them down gave Santana and Ortiz a lot of heat, so you could use them. It could be very beneficial. But yeah, really good tag team match, really great stuff. Like I said, two of the best tag teams in the world, so it was what you expected it to be. Up next, we got Hangman Page versus Pac. This is a match that was supposed to be on pay-per-view months ago. It was supposed to happen at Double or Nothing, but then backstage issues came into play, so the match didn't happen. The match happened overseas, didn't get a winner. Then we saw this match happen on Dynamite like about a month ago, or a little under a month ago, and Pac got a win. So that win, coming off of Hangman Page racking up a couple of losses, especially following All Out, where he lost to Chris Jericho in the world title match, you felt, well, the story was that Page needed some redemption, and he was seeking some redemption in this match against Pac here. It was a good match. Pac, he suplexed Page onto a chair that was propped up in the corner on the outside. It was like in the corner over by the barricade and stuff. He ended up suplexing Hangman Page onto that chair. So Page was down. He barely beat the count, but he got back in right at the last minute. I'll just go ahead and skip to the finish. They were in the ropes. So Page had Pac. He had him in position to hit him with a German suplex. The referee was right there. They're in the ropes. Pac is holding onto the ropes, has the referee blocked. He pulls the referee in to block his vision. He goes for a low blow to kick back a low blow onto Page, but Page catches his foot, not doing that again. In fact, I believe that's how he won a previous match. So he grabbed his foot, he pulled him in, gave him a pretty brutal looking forearm, got him up for the dead eye, and got the win. So Hangman Page beats Pac, and seeing as how Pac was higher in the ranking system in the world title contention, higher than Page was, you would think that this propels Page above Pac and to higher potential to get a future world title shot. So we'll see. I personally would love Pac versus Chris Jericho. I know they're both heels, but I still think that'd be an interesting match to do. But yeah, good match. I love watching Pac matches, and Hangman Page is really good too. I enjoy his cowboy shit. So good stuff here. Up next, not really good stuff. It was kind of bland stuff. It was bad boy Joey Janela taking on the chairman, even though he has not used that chair since Fyter Fest. Shawn Spears, along with Tully Blanchard in his corner. Shawn Spears lost to Cody at All Out, and since then, just haven't really cared much about him. And this match, which was thrown together seemingly last minute. I know there was an angle that was set up between these two on AEW Dark where Spears was he was using pliers to try to pull out Janela's tongue. So there was a backstory to this match, but I just really didn't care about it. There was a lot of chops that went on, some stiff chops. I think Spears' chest was pretty red at one point. There was one unique thing that Spears did. He had Janela in the corner, and he tied the tag rope that's in the turnbuckle. He tied Janela's hair with the tag rope, so he was kind of stuck there. And he was just kind of punching him and stuff like that. But the finish came where one of the turnbuckles in the corner was undone, so Earl Hebner had to go over and fix it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ring, behind Earl Hebner's back, you had, on the outside, Shawn Spears had Joey Janela in position for a pile driver. Meanwhile, Tully Blanchard is on the steel ring steps. He jumps off and gives Shawn Spears a assisted pile driver on Joey Janela. Gets him back in the ring. Spears lays him out with the DVD, the Death Valley Driver, and gets the win. So Shawn Spears racks up a win over Joey Janela. I don't know where that puts him in contention for a championship opportunity. In my opinion, that puts him in potential for a feud with Hangman Page, maybe. So that's something, But yeah, so a win for Shawn Spears there. They had a backstage interview with Kip Sabian, and all that was really accomplished here was establishing that he now has a new valet in Penelope Ford, who was a former valet for Joey Janela, but now she works with Kip Sabian. So that was that. Up next was a triple threat for the AEW Tag Team titles. The champions, SCU, Scorpio Sky, and Frankie Kazarian, taking on the number one contenders, the Lucha Bros, Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr., and the number two contenders, Private Party, Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. You would think with these six guys, this match would be a lot better than it was, but it was good. But good, when you see this match with these guys in it, you would expect more. And I think the tag team match earlier kind of overshadowed this one. It was really good, but I just feel like it could have been a lot better. Started off kind of slow, but it did pick up a lot towards the end. And of course, you got guys like Mark Quinn in there who hit a beautiful, picture-perfect shooting star press on Frankie Kazarian at one point. Ray Phoenix, who was just unbelievable to watch, he hit a crazy twisting dive onto the outside, onto a pile of everyone. So there's a lot of impressive stuff going on in this match. But in the end, SCU won rather anticlimactically, just like the way they won the tag team titles in the first place. And a lot of people did not agree with the decision for them to become the first tag team champions. I agree. I think it probably should have been the Lucha Bros, but they went with SCU, who are popular, just not as popular as the Lucha Bros. But then again, my original pick was Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy to win the titles, but Luchasaurus got hurt. So praying he hurries back so we can see him on TV, because that is a draw right there. Either way, after the match, the Lucha Bros attacked SCU. The lights went out. They came back on. There was a second Pentagon. As Excalibur put it, he was Pentagon Trice. He mimicked Pentagon Jr.'s moves. He hit him with an STO, and then he got Ray Phoenix up for a Fallen Angel right on top of Pentagon. He removed his mask and revealed himself to be Christopher Daniels. Oh, wow, what a surprise. Christopher Daniels, of course, got attacked by the Lucha Bros a few weeks ago. A couple weeks prior to the finals of the tag team tournament, they gave him a package pile driver on the rampway, so he was out hurt for a while. But he came back here. He's back with his boys, the champions, and that's that. So, not much else to say about it. Up next, the AEW Women's Championship match. Riho defending her title against her former mentor, her teacher, Emi Sakura, who came out with a Freddie Mercury cosplay. She was dressed up like Freddie Mercury. So, as a Queen fan, I dug that. She was very emotional heading into this match. When they were doing the ring introductions, they put the camera on her face, and she looked like she was about to cry. You know, she was in there with, her student. So that was a story that they were peddling in this match. Not one that really played itself out on TV that much, because the match only got announced the previous week. But it's a really good story. Just wish they had told it a little bit better. Despite that, these two went on to have what I feel like has been the best women's match in AEW since the company's inception. We've had a couple of matches on the pay-per-views. We've had a few matches on TV. A lot of the recent weeks have given us a lot of really good women's matches, but I think this one had to have been the best. These two told a really good story. As emotional as Emi Sakura was, she wasn't emotional too long. She was beating down Riho a lot in this match. Riho held her own. She used her patented foot stomps a lot in this match. And I made the comment on Twitter that Riho uses foot stomps the same way Kenny Omega uses V-triggers in his matches. And since Kenny Omega teams up with Riho a lot in mixed tag team matches, that makes sense that she found a move to use a lot. Like all 95 pounds of Riho doing diving foot stomps. It's okay. Emi Sakura had this really cool spot where she had Riho locked in the Romero special, but instead of just staying stationary with it, she kept rolling around in the ring. I think she did like 3 rolls with Riho still locked in the Romero special, so I thought that was pretty unique. She hit what was in position to be a Vader bomb, but it ended up being a Vader stomp, because she did the bounce off the apron when she came off the turnbuckle, and when she came down, she did a diving foot stomp. She did it again, and this time it was a senton. So she hit a Vader stomp and a Vader senton. So that was pretty good. But Riho, again, with many of her own foot stomps, we get this really crazy finishing sequence where they're just both ducking each other's moves, they're reversing, and a lot of crazy twists and stuff like that. But it ended with Riho rolling up Emi Sakura, getting the win and retaining the AEW Women's Championship. Didn't think she was going to lose the title this soon, and certainly didn't think it would be against Emi Sakura. After the match, they shook hands. Emi raised her hand, and that was that. So, like I said, it was probably the best women's match in this company so far, and hopefully we continue to see better matches. Hopefully we continue to see more exposure of the women on TV, and yeah, it can only get better from here. Up next was one of the matches I was looking forward to the most on this show. Probably the second biggest match that I was looking forward to the most on this show. That being Chris Jericho defending the AEW World Championship against the American Nightmare Cody in a match that had it set up in place beforehand that were it to go the 60-minute time limit draw, there'd be judges there to determine who would win, and those judges were Dean Malenko, Arn Anderson, and the Great Muta. They played no factor in the match other than one really quick spot where Jericho and Dean Malenko had a brief face-off, which didn't get as big of a reaction as I was hoping it would get, but I still popped for it. I thought it was pretty good. And also, there was a stipulation going in that Cody announced on the Go Home show the previous week that if he did not win this match, he would never again challenge for the AEW World Championship. As an executive in the company, he didn't want any more conflicts of interest, so if he couldn't get the job done here, going forward, he would not challenge for that championship. A lot of people looked at that like, oh, well, he's going to win. That obviously telegraphs the finish. He's going to win. I did not think that. I figured we would get a scenario where MJF, Cody's best friend, his mentee, Cody is his mentor, he would turn on him and fully embrace his salt of the earth, heel douchebag persona that he uses against everyone else except Cody. And he would finally turn on Cody and cost him the match, allowing Jericho to get the win. We didn't really get that, but we got a version of that. But we'll get to that. First, the match itself. Early on, first few minutes, very standard basic stuff. Nothing overly special. That was until the big dive spot. Now, with this stage arena setup, the rampway was connected to the ring. So it went right to the ring. This is a classic WCW style. So Jericho was on the outside, on the apron, and Cody was in the ring, and he was gearing up to hit a dive. He goes for the dive. I think it was over the ropes even. He goes for the dive, and when he is in midair, Jericho moves, and Cody comes crashing down face first onto the steel ramp. It looks so sick. And when he lifts his head, you see trickling blood over his left eye because he got busted open because his face slapped the damn steel rampway. It looked brutal. They showed a replay in slow motion, and it didn't look that much better. It gave me serious Undertaker WrestleMania 25 vibes. One of the best matches in WrestleMania history, if not the best match in WrestleMania history. You remember the spot from that match where Undertaker did his classic WrestleMania dive over the top rope, and Shawn pulled the cameraman in the way, although the cameraman was too far back. He didn't do a good job catching the Undertaker. So Undertaker ended up crashing over the top rope and landed head first onto the mat in one of the most brutal spots I think I've ever seen. Until now, this was worse because this was flat out steel that Cody landed on, and it busted him open, and Jericho was kind of working over that injury throughout the rest of the match. Now, Cody's mother was at ringside for the match, cheer on her son. Jericho was taunting her, and when he went over to her, he was taunting her some more, and she ended up telling Jericho, "Fuck you," and slapped him right across the face. This lit a fire under Cody's ass. He got Jericho back in the ring. He was beating him down. And of course, you got guys on the outside. You got MJF in Cody's corner. You got Jake Hager in Jericho's corner. So you know these guys are going to get involved. And that's exactly what happened. Jake Hager, he got involved. He pulled Cody's feet from under the ropes. He was interfering, all that kind of stuff. And eventually the referee, Aubrey Edwards, she kicked Jake Hager out of the arena, kicked him out of ringside, sent him to the back. MJF came over, was taunting him, and Jake ended up laying out him. Aubrey, she went to the outside, so she was distracted. So in the ring, Jericho gets the AEW title belt, crashes it right in Cody's face. He's down, and Jericho plays possum. He plays dead, classic Eddie Guerrero move, and he goes over to cover him, and it was only good for a 2 count. He goes for the Judas effect, but Cody blocks it, turns it into the Crossroads for a very close near fall. This was very close. I had to drop everything because I thought for a second that was it. So they got me there. That was really good. Cody busts out the bionic elbow, his daddy's move, but it was only good for a 2 count. He goes up to a springboard on the ropes. He goes for a beautiful disaster kick, but it is caught in midair by a code breaker from Jericho. Again, only good for a 2 count. He got his weight belt, Jericho did. You know, Cody usually wears weight belts, so kind of mocking him, Jericho had his own, and he started whipping Cody with it. And somehow this did not cause a DQ. He is using a weapon on Cody, and the referee is not calling for the bell. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. I don't understand how whipping someone with a belt does not count as a disqualification. Eventually she got it away from him, and then there was that spot where Jericho shoved her and she shoved him and the crowd pops for it. But yeah, it's just stupid. Jericho's on the top turnbuckle. Cody goes up, tries to hit him with a Hurricane Rana, but Jericho catches Cody and then ends up locking him in the walls of Jericho. Cody struggles to get to the rope, but he eventually does. Then Jericho turned into the Lion Tamer and was really cranking back, and we see out of the corner of our eye MJF in the corner of Cody with a white towel. He's holding the towel. It's in plain view of everyone in the arena, so everyone knows what's about to happen here. Jericho really yanks back on it, really buries his knee right in Cody's face, right in the area where the cut above his eye is. It's looking really brutal, and MJF feels he has no other alternative other than to throw in the white towel. The referee sees it. She calls for the bell. Cody forfeits. Jericho retains. He is still Le Champion. He goes up the ramp onto the stage with the rest of his inner circle mates and celebrates with a little bit of the bubbly. I'm not even going to try to mimic Jericho there. And he celebrates. He retained his championship. And by virtue of that, Cody, based on his stipulation, can no longer challenge for that championship. Back in the ring, MJF is pleading his case to Cody. He's on his knees, crying. So you can tell instantly where this is going. He's crying. He's begging for Cody to forgive him and understand why he did what he did. The fans in the arena, the crowd, they see right through it. They're calling for Cody to kick his ass, but Cody doesn't do it. He helps MJF up. He is basically telling him it's all right, it's okay, and all that kind of stuff. So they're both standing, and MJF hauls back and kicks Cody right in the balls. Gives him a low blow. Cody collapses, and MJF has the most smug, arrogant, douche, dick smile right across his face. He slowly leaves the ring, and when he's walking up the ramp, he reaches the top of the ramp, and you see below a fan in the audience throw a water bottle right at him. Water splashes in MJF's face. The water bottle hits him, and the smile, which was already there, it gets a little bigger, and that right there just put this on a whole other level. It was already at a high level, but this sent it even further. That cemented this turn, which wasn't even a turn, because MJF has always been a heel. Now, every time he's come out and helped Cody, he's gotten huge pops on TV, but the fans still know he's a dick, and he's been a heel from day one. So It was just Cody was always the person who he helped and would defend and all that kind of stuff. So, but no, he finally turned on Cody. And of course, that fan who threw the water bottle ended up getting ejected from the building, which is understandable, but still, that sight of water getting splashed in MJF's face, you know it's going to be on the promo for their eventual match. It's going to be on a lot of vignettes for MJF going forward. It was perfect. Could they have stretched this out a little bit more, teasing the tension of him throwing the towel? Was it intentional? Was it not? Now there's no real question. It was very intentional, and it was very reminiscent of Survivor Series 1993 with Bret Hart and Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund had Bret Hart locked in the cross-arm chicken wing for like 10, 11 minutes straight. Owen Hart is pleading with his and Bret's mother to throw in the towel. She does, and it was revealed that Owen wanted to screw over his brother. Actually, that's his 94. I'm sorry, 1994. Survivor Series 1994. Bob Backlund won the championship as a result of that, and then lost it to Diesel a few days later at Madison Square Garden. So, I apologize. But yes, it was very reminiscent of that. So, this is a match, though. This is a feud. This is a story that's been built up for a very long time. It hasn't played itself out on TV a lot, only because it just got TV. But even prior to them getting on TV, this is a story that's been building up for a very long time. So, and it was obvious as hell. So, you would have just been stretching out the inevitable. So, I feel like to this point they were already stretching it out enough. So, very well done. I cannot wait for the promos from MJF going forward in this feud. It's going to be great. This feud is going to top that personal feud between Shawn Spears and Cody. I guarantee you that. Maybe this time MJF will actually win. And so that ends the regular show, and then the lights went out, only not really, but they came back on for the next match, which was the Lights Out Unsanctioned match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. Hope you're ready for this video to go an hour long, because I got a lot to say about this match. Holy fucking shit, what did we see here? Like, I don't even know where to begin. So many weapons. Obviously, a lot of barbed wire, trash cans, blood, so much shit in this match. Moxley, he had a barbed wire baseball bat. He used it on Omega, sliced him open. Omega had a barbed wire broom. We've seen both of these weapons on TV recently. Now we got to finally see them get used, and they're pretty legit because it busted open Moxley as well. Had his back busted open. So that was that. And in case you thought, oh, well, that's probably, the degree of how it's going to go. Oh, no. It escalated pretty quickly after that. Omega got a table of set mousetraps, as in mousetraps that were already set up and ready to go off the second you touch it. It's a table full of them. So he puts it in the ring. He's going to use it on Moxley, but then Moxley ends up giving him a flip suplex slam onto the table, and all the mousetraps snap and crack all over Omega. A mousetrap was used on me once before a very long time ago. That shit's very painful. And that was just one. And it was on my hand. I can only imagine what your entire body feeling that all over feels like. But somehow that was not the craziest thing to happen in this match. Somehow. Moxley pulled out a huge steel gold chain, and he ended up hitting a sidewalk slam on Omega onto the chain. He hit another move on there later, like a back suplex or something like that. So there was a chain. There was a screwdriver that Moxley found. He went to use it on Omega, but Omega moved, and he ended up stabbing the top turnbuckle with it. But that came back into play a little bit later. Then Omega started to take over. He got that chain that Moxley had and used it as a noose on Jon Moxley. Sorry, this match has me fucking up my language here, but he used it on him. wrapped it around his throat, hung him over the ropes, and was just yanking, pulling back on it. It looked sick. It looked pretty brutal, especially when Moxley, who had his fingers to kind of block it, his fingers dropped and his hand was drooping down, so it looked very brutal and very morbid. This looked. So yeah, Omega got a piece of glass, and he was about to kind of stab Moxley's eye out with it, but he ended up blocking it, but that didn't stop him. Omega just used it to slice Moxley's hand and finger area. Then he got a bag of broken glass, poured it out, and hit a sit-out spine buster on Jon Moxley onto the glass. The referee went for a count. It was only good for a 2 count. The only reason I mention that is because the referee, who had gloves on, for whatever reason decided to take one of his gloves off. I forgot the reason why, but he used the bare hand to count the near fall, and it looked like his hand hit one of the pieces of glass. So that sucked. Omega locked Moxley in a submission right onto the glass, so in order for Moxley to escape, he had to crawl through the glass with his bare skin. Oh, Jesus Christ. This was brutal. He tried to put, Omega did, put little pieces of glass in Jon's mouth. Whether he did or not, I couldn't really tell. But he went to hit a V-trigger, but then he reversed it, Moxley did, and hit a German suplex onto the glass. Omega got a screwdriver and then dragged it across Jon Moxley's face. By this point, they're up the ramp onto the stage area. Then we see Omega signaling to the back, and out comes the Young Bucks and Hangman Page. They're out there. Omega's giving them barking orders. They look very reluctant. Then they leave. We're led to believe, okay, they're not going to help him. Oh, they're going to help him all right, because they come back out with not even a table. It's a contraption, some kind of concoction, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's a bunch of barbed wire. It's like just a plate of barbed wire held together by like support beams. It's this structure of barbed wire right below where the stage area is that Moxley and Omega are at. So Omega tries to throw him over, Moxley tries to throw him over, Omega reverses it, but in the end, Moxley ends up suplexing Kenny Omega off the stage, crashing through the barbed wire. Sick as fuck. This was disgusting. This was so brutal to look at. These guys are stuck, and then you get the Young Bucks and Hangman Page, you get all these officials coming over to help them out of it. You see the barbed wire sticking to their back. Why are they using real barbed wire? And even if it's gimmicked, it's still brutal enough looking. Ugh. Oh my god. And at this point, the fans chant "Fight Forever." Or was it after this? Or was it after Omega hit a V-trigger on Jon Moxley and they both went through like a glass plate that was attached to one of the pieces of the stage? That was brutal. And at that point, the fans chanted "Fight Forever." And I'm like, no, please end this now. And they did not end it. They get back to the ring. Moxley ends up hitting out of nowhere a paradigm shift, his double underhook DDT on Omega onto the shattered glass that's still in the ring. It's only good for a 2 count, which I thought was ridiculous. That's probably where the match should have ended, but they wanted to escalate it even further. And at this point, Moxley was undoing the ring skirt and the sheet over the ring and exposed the wooden pallet that's under there. He tried to hit his move on Omega. Omega tried to hit a one-winged angel, but Moxley, that is, managed to escape it. But Omega ended up hitting his own double underhook DDT on Moxley onto the wood, and it was only good for a 2 count. He went up top, went for a Phoenix Splash, missed, crashed and burned, and that looked brutal. Moxley went to cover him, and Omega kicked out of that too. This dude did all these flips and shit in midair and splatted right on wood and kicked out of it. Very ridiculous. You didn't even have to have him cover him. Like, why even do that? Like, just have him miss and then pick him up and do. Because what happened right after? He picked him up, hit him with a paradigm shift, and got the win. Why even go for the cover there? Why do the kick out? You didn't need that. This match clocked in at like 38 minutes. You probably could have shaved a good 10 minutes off. There was maybe some of that stuff wasn't necessary, and a few of the stuff that got kicked out of was not necessary to be kicked out of, but all in all, the match was over. Jon Moxley beats Kenny Omega in his specialty, in unsanctioned war. How either man was able to stand or move or breathe after this match is a mystery to me, but they did it, and they put on one hell of a fight. That being said, I personally have no desire to see an unsanctioned match for a long while in AEW. This is already the third one we've gotten. The first one was Jon Moxley and Joey Janela at Fyter Fest. The second one was on an episode of AEW Dark between Kenny Omega and Joey Janela. And then we got this one. We don't need to see another one for a while. And I'm not saying, oh, well, they don't do pay-per-views every month, so the next time they do a pay-per-view in 5 months, they'll do it then. No, I'm talking longer than that. We don't need to bust out this stipulation anytime soon. You want to do a no DQ match or a street fight? Fine. I don't need to see shit like this for a while, though. This was, as crazy as it was, I could not take my eyes off it. This was pure car crash TV. You either love it or hate it. There's just no real in-between with this kind of thing. I loved it in terms of it just blowing my mind at how crazy it was. But with that said, like I said, I don't need to see this again for a while. And that closed the show. That was AEW Full Gear. Top to bottom, like I said, I'd have to give this a thumbs up. The bottom, with this end, thumbs up to the effort from Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. They killed themselves there. And Cody and Chris Jericho had a really great match. A lot of great storytelling there. And of course, the finish with MJF throwing in the towel and MJF turning on Cody was great. The great tag team opener with Proud and Powerful and the Young Bucks. A lot of really good stuff. Joey Janela, Shawn Spears, no need for it, was not necessary. Certain aspects of the matches where people were kicking out of stuff, didn't like that. But overall, I give it a thumbs up. Strong show. Did not need to be 4 hours. So please cut back on that in the future. But like I said, overall, I give this show a thumbs up. It was a positive show. I probably talked about it a little bit longer than I intended it to, especially for as late as it is on a Saturday night. But that's about it for me. So I don't know the next time I'll be on. I'll probably be talking about TakeOver War Games and Survivor Series. So look for me that weekend. And as for me right now, I am exhausted. So I'll catch y'all later.